your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar. As the prophecy was once punched in the mouth, I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I have no teeth, Crackhead Nickels.
And today we're going to talk about a new television show that also might not have teeth. Broadcaster Nickels, unfortunately for you, this is like the equivalent of if a really bad Gambit television series came out. I'm assuming this is a similar experience for you with Moon Knight.
Yeah. I just, I didn't have any hope, to be honest. But seeing that image, it just kind of goes to show you that all those old miserable people you had in your life when you were super young and innocent, and you were just like, how can people become that old and miserable? You understand them now. It's like moments like this where you're just like, yeah, it gets way worse. It gets so much worse. In fact, it will always be worse than you think. Make up whatever you want in your head, and then you get like that in your face.
That's a great inspirational speech for like a high school movie at the end, where like the guy gets up on the stage at the graduation ceremony. He's like, "Don't worry, kids, it'll always get worse." And then like
it goes all downhill from here, folks.
Everyone will be horrified. Like someday, a kid 18 years younger than you, who can't grow a beard, is going to tell you that you take too long in the bathroom and you need to be more productive at your desk.
Oh my God. This is so bad. I don't know how. I just. Oh, I got to calm down for a second. I'm a pretty big Moon Knight fan, and there's many different costumes that they could have picked from, some shittier than others. And like one in particular, and a lot of Moon Knight fans will know this, Mr. Knight, which is a Marvel Now costume. Marvel Now was a short little period in Marvel Comics. I won't go into the details because it'll bore everyone, but nonetheless, there's two costumes that came out of that. A take on one of the more traditional Moon Knight costumes with the white cloak and everything, but he had like black on white patterned armor underneath it. And then there was Mr. Knight, the other persona during that time, which was just a full white three-piece suit with a Moon Knight pullover mask. And it's super simple. It would have been way easy to pull off in a real show. And they just, like, maybe it might pop up. Who knows? They might use it as some, like, cameo or some Easter egg or something like that. But the fact that the first leaked image, and I'm a firm believer that these leaked images are the actual studio putting out feelers. I'm always like, because these people, like, I just refuse to believe there's that many leaks in the ship and they don't do anything about it.
Who in their right mind would leak this though? Like, it looked horrible. The quality looked horrible. And I'm hearing rumors that they're shooting this show on iPhones. They're not even using real cameras to film this television show, supposedly.
What?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's the rumor. I don't know if it's true. But,
why you gotta do my boy Moon Knight like that? I mean,
I'm gonna pour a 40 out for him.
It's unbelievable. His new comic run is unbelievably good too. Like, comics suck nowadays. Like a lot, like a 98% of comics just blow nowadays. Like bad, like an agenda shoved in your face so hard, like you forget why you even buy comics type of bad. But there's a couple. Like, I think it's X-Men Legends or something. Something's coming. It's X-Men something right now that's by a Peter guy. He's doing really good. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's pretty good. And then there's Moon Knight's run that's going on too, which I read the first issue, and it was pretty fucking dope. So
that's
the
good
fact that he's man, it just hurts me to see that image. It really hurts me because it's so bad. It's not based. It doesn't look like it's based on. It might be based on like early 2000s Moon Knight when he was like buffed out of his fucking mind, and like I forget the artist that did it, but he just, the way he was drawn, it kind of looks like the way they're trying to do the pattern and the fabric on that leaked costume photo, but I don't know. It's just that's not it. That's not it. Especially with Oscar Isaac, because he's like a third of the size of that Moon Knight in that era. So
yeah,
it doesn't work.
It seems like Disney Plus is kind of doing like a TikTok model, like Intel processors at this point with the Disney Plus releases. You know, we start with the big one. You know, that fucking Scarlet Witch TV show was pretty fucking cool. Like, it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it was refreshing. It was unique. It had a lot of good things going for it. Then fucking Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out, and it's just like a fucking turd. And then Loki comes out, and it shoots kind of back up towards the the Scarlet Witch direction, the WandaVision direction, and now we're getting this Moon Knight series. And it seems like, again, we're going to get this sort of weird shift downward. Maybe they're just spacing them out like that. So like they want to make sure two bad ones don't come out in a row. So they're like strategically placing them like that. That's what it feels like to me so far.
Maybe. Moon Knight's so like I don't know why they're even making a Moon Knight series.
I was shocked when I heard about this. Honestly, I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
And that's coming from a huge Moon Knight fan. He's like my favorite Marvel comic character, and
I mean, he's the fucking Batman of Marvel. You know?
No, he's not. Shut your mouth. Anyway, anyways,
did I hit a nerve, broadcaster?
It just seems like, why would you? It's the same thing with making a Suicide Squad. You know, we'll get to that later, but it's like great movie. Nonetheless, it just kind of perplexes your head. You're like, why is there a team up movie about all these villains, comic book villains, and we haven't even really seen the characters that they're the villain of? You know? It's just kind of this weird thing from a comic book perspective. You're just like, why? Like, we haven't even gotten a Green Lantern movie. Yeah. We haven't got the second Superman yet. We haven't gotten Ben's Batman movie. We haven't got a Flash movie yet. But somehow Suicide Squad 2's coming out.
No, it's the Suicide Squad.
I get it. It's a reboot. But nonetheless, it's like they've had time to make 2 Suicide Squad movies. And we haven't gotten anything of actual substance in the major big player club, you know?
I think there's someone in power at DC that really likes the taste of Margot Robbie's pussy, and there seems to be a very direct.
It's not exactly a fine wine, you know. Like I feel it.
We can talk about that in the review, but I just feel like Margot Robbie. It seems like she's being pushed in a way where you're just like, something doesn't add up here. Like, why are we getting so many fucking Margot Robbie, fucking Harley Quinn movies when there is such a wealth of DC that has just not been touched yet?
Oh, it's smart. I know exactly why. Because she's hot. She's in, and she's not afraid to show skin. She's not afraid to be a little slutty. She likes to play the character Harley Quinn, which is, again, you know, what I just mentioned. And that's kind of rare nowadays. You won't find a lot of women that are that pretty, are that high caliber, that are willing to be real in that sense, you know, and not have like something tacked on, you know, like I want a female empowerment scene where me and this actress, you know, get at least 2 minutes of screen time and some character development. Like, you can tell Margot Robbie is not like that. You know, and I think DC knows they're lucky to have such a high caliber female image because females are in right now, so they're playing it. I mean, I would probably do the same thing. It's just a shame that to them that's making a second Suicide Squad and a Birds of Prey movie. Fuck, it's just like it could have been done way better.
Yeah,
way better.
Well, back to Moonlight.
Moonlight, yeah, we are getting moonlighted, aren't we?
So how woke do you think this is gonna be? Because I feel like Moon Knight is just a character that I feel like fits really well into like refurbishing as like a woke superhero. I just get
he's
the
a broken white man. It's perfect. It's perfect. He has multiple. He's a schizophrenic. He has multiple personalities.
Yeah. Honestly, he reminds me a lot of one of your friends that I once carried to diamond rank in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, maybe.
We won't say his name, but he does kind of remind me of that guy a little bit.
Yeah. Did you see? Oh, you don't read the comp, but anyways, there's a white guy named French. Well, he's a white French person named Frenchie. That's his nickname, and he's like the Alfred to Moon Knight, and they turned him black, dude. they turned him. The actor's black who's gonna play him in the series. He's a bald black man.
Yeah,
it's just like you can't make this shit up.
Yikes.
Yeah, so I don't really have hope for it after I heard that. I'm like, if you guys are like so willingly to get something that, I mean, I wouldn't call it crucial, but I would call it one of the prime elements to a Moon Knight comic. Frenchie, as I said, is like Alfred to Batman. Like you just can't. You're going to have a show or a comic with him. He's going to show up one way or another, be mentioned one way or another. And to have the first series come out and you race swap him, it's like he's not that important of a character. And it's just like you're just showing everybody that you're not really going to make a true to form show. Like you're just going to have a Moon Knight in name and you're just going to make everything else up. And the costume shows that too. It's like, again, not based on pretty much any established costume, which there's a plethora of. Like there's a lot to work off of. And one of I mentioned earlier is super adaptable. And they just decided that's not the route they want to go, apparently.
Yeah.
Who knows? Could bite my tongue. That might be a leaked fake photo. Who knows? Day one, I might get Mr. Knight just on episode 1, and I'll probably be a little schoolgirl, and I'll be like, you know what? Oscar Isaac's the shit, dude.
Yeah, good old Poe Dameron. Someday when I die, my tombstone is gonna say, it's gonna say "Rip, rest in peace," and then right after it's gonna say, "And Oscar Isaac is not my apocalypse." Motherfucker.
I think he wishes that movie disappeared too.
Yeah, I know. It's probably true, man. Honestly, if I sat down with him at a bar, he'd just probably put his arm on my shoulder and just be like,
mention that again, I'll fucking kill you.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And every time you say that movie, I just think of him walking out when everyone else is standing around. It really shows you how small he is. And I was just like, how did that make it into the movie? Like, you guys can't do that.
Yeah, like in the background, Muggsy Bogues is walking by and he's like noticeably taller than Apocalypse. Damn it.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Ivan Ooze looking motherfucker.
Now that's a role he could have played, Ivan Ooze. If they bring back Ivan Ooze, I'm all for Poe Dameron playing him. All right.
And honestly, they have a super meta opportunity if they ever do a fucking other Power Ranger movie and Ivan Ooze comes back. Yeah, they need to hire fucking Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, our boy Poe Dameron's ready for that. He just was not ready for Apocalypse. Hopefully he's ready for Moon Knight. I'm not in love with the casting. When I heard about it, I kind of yawned a little bit, but at least, I don't know. I don't really like Poe Dameron that much, man. I don't like any of the roles that guy's played. I've seen a bunch of stuff with him, and I don't really like him in anything.
Trying to think of the movie I liked him in. It was like a long time ago.
I don't know about the guy, man. Like, he's not a bad actor. I don't know. I just don't really like him.
He's in a couple movies I like. I don't really mind him as Poe Dameron. I don't really blame him.
Poe's his best role, but
yeah, Poe's all right. It's just obviously Star Wars had a lot going wrong with it.
Yeah, none of it was his fault, but yeah, I don't know, man. This Moon Knight business they're saying it's like a CW style show. That made my skin crawl when I heard that. I'm just like, what?
Oscar Isaac is not doing a CW show.
I don't know, man. I mean, I hope so. I hope this is good, but I don't know. I have a feeling that this is gonna be like
This is the next Mandalorian, bro. You just wait. This is Game of Thrones level hype.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hype, broadcaster Nickels, there's a lot of hype in Japan right now for Star Wars Visions.
I think it's the most hype Star Wars has right now, period.
Fuck yeah, it is, dude, for sure. That being said, are you ready to get to our preview of Star Wars Visions?
Sure.
What's that? You want more Crack Cellar? This is good. Join your lords on Twitter at The Crack Cellar and Facebook.com/The Crack Cellar.
Hey, you over there. Are you a straight-up Chad or a strong woman? Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and your favorite podcasting app. Or, if you're a straight-up beta cuck, find us on YouTube with the rest of the Cloud Chasers. And we're back with our preview of Star Wars Visions, Broadcaster Nickels. It's an anthology.
I got the vid.
It's an anthology series. And it is, let's see, 9 episodes. 9 episodes long. Every single episode is made by a different anime director. Some of them famous, some of them not. What were your initial impressions when you looked at that teaser trailer?
Well, they need to get that not anime cartoon out of the bunch. They need to isolate that and quarantine it.
Yeah.
It makes the rest of them look kind of bad. When I first clicked on it, I saw the thumbnail and I saw that sweet samurai Jedi, and I was like, "Oh snap!" But then,
yeah, I think you're talking about the 8th episode, T0B1 by Abel Gongora, who I believe is a Spanish man of some sort.
Looks like She-Ra, and I'm tired of that type of fucking putty, like chubby cheek animation shit, and it has no place being in the halls of greatness what the other 8 of those episodes look like. So
yeah, and he has one of the lesser impressive resumes. When I looked him up, the only thing I noticed that I've ever heard of is Yokai Watch the movie, which is a really shitty movie that my daughter used to like, so I watched it a few times with her, not really paying attention, but like I've seen some of it, and
that makes
not
sense,
impressive. Not great.
That's that kitty chubby cheek type animation shit, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a kid's anime, so it's not made for me, but even so, like, I mean, One Piece is kind of a kid's anime, and I fucking love One Piece, and I just watched episode 9,000 or whatever it's on now, and, yeah. Yokai Watch, not so much.
Yeah, One Piece took that type of, like, rounded jawline animation, you know, or lack of jawline to begin with animation, and made it their own, though. It's very, they forged it into something unique. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, there is a very, like, default style of cheap animation for kids, and it just, every time I see it, I'm just like, do you guys go to the same fucking school or something? I swear.
Yeah, you don't even know, though. Like, if you watched kids stuff, because, like, my daughter watches all of, like, these shows that are made for little kids now on Netflix, and all these shows use the exact same super cheap 3D animation that all looks the same and looks just super... It looks like something that would have looked novelly cute in, like, the year 2002. But, like, now you're just like, oh my god. And they all use this animation. It just must be super easy and cheap to make, is what my guess is. The version you're talking about with Yokai Watch is not nearly as bad as that. Like, you have no idea how deep the bad animation rabbit hole goes nowadays.
I don't know. I watched that Berserk OVA.
Well, that's different.
Bad.
That's not...
Actually, no. The OVAs were awesome. The 3-episode OVAs were high budget, I was talking about what was
the CG,
what they call that?
The CG scenes. Like
And
that's
the
only
newest
like
one.
40. It's like 30 to 40% of the episode though. Like it wasn't a lot. But
I
I
feel
do
like
agree
you're
it
just
sucked.
you're being a CGI apologist because it's
No,
Berserk.
it sucked, and I didn't like it either, but it wasn't the whole anime, at least. Like, at least it wasn't, like, the whole thing. Like, they would give you, like, these parts of the anime episode that were hand-drawn, animated, that were like, oh, shit. Like, when fucking Guts gets the fucking armor at the end of the last season, that the most recent Berserk anime they did. They did that hand-drawn, and oh, boy, I get goosebumps thinking about it still. That's how sick it was.
Iconic shit.
It was.
I want you to tell the audience somehow you didn't know what the fucking Berserk armor was this whole time. So he doesn't read the manga, and somehow he's never been spoiled. He never saw a T-shirt. He never saw a poster. He never saw anything online of Guts wearing this armor. With the one of the most iconic images that's been shared around the internet of Berserk for decades is him holding the giant sword with the Berserk armor fully on, hunched down like a beast. It's like, when you told me you just got to that, and you're like, wait a minute, you never heard about that before? I was like, how did you just like dodge bullets your whole life and not seeing that? Yeah. It's one of the most iconic anime images of all time.
Yeah, well, that's why the Han Solo thing bugs me so much, because I'm usually so good at avoiding spoilers, and I just got like hit by a fucking rogue planet with that spoiler. It still bothers me to this, even though I don't even like the movie or the series of movies it comes from. It still just bothers me at a base level. It's like, I was on Bloomberg.com and these fucking douchebags are like, by the way, man.
This just in, Bloomberg.com exclusive. Han Solo gets cucked in the end of Solo the movie.
And apparently Darth Maul's a spider now. I don't know what happened. Broadcaster Nickels, Star Wars Visions is interesting because the canon will not apply. So this is like a sanctioned alternate universe that we're about to see, made by famous anime directors.
The canon will not be applied.
Yeah, like they were really specific about it too. Like they want you to know, like, hey, this is they're not gonna have problems because they said something that doesn't jive with, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith in some way. Like,
I think that's kind of one of those moments where someone's just like, no, I'm keeping you away from me, not the other way around type of situation. Because I feel like them saying that, everyone was like, oh, well, I don't understand because this all looks really dope. But that's the point, because it's going to be so cool that there's going to be a lot of outrage from those special alphabet people. And that's their way of calming them down. They're like, don't worry, this isn't canon. This is just the Japanese people's ideas, okay? It's not racist at all, okay? It's just let them have their thing.
Wait, we saw a woman that was feminine. You're not going to allow this.
Oh my God. I would die. That's not going to happen. They probably already had a lot of full length discussions about how the tit size can't go over a certain amount. But
We'll see. I don't know, man. We'll see.
I would die, dude. If there's just a big titty fucking Jedi.
The fucking Eno shows up. Just like, with a pink lightsaber and her tits.
That will be. If that has Disney's name on it and that happens, that will go down as one of the best upvoted on everything, all of it will be praised.
Yeah,
and Disney will have to handle that somehow.
They're like, but we are going to go ahead with our new trilogy starring Elliot Page, right?
Wrong.
So
Kathleen, can you please come up to the 50th floor, please?
So basically an anthology series, for those that are not aware what that is, because they're pretty rare. There aren't too many. A great example is The Outer Limits or The Twilight Zone. There are shows that don't follow the same narrative path. They are totally disconnected. Final Fantasy is an anthology series too. So what it means is just they don't follow each other. They have nothing to do with each other.
Well, it used to be an anthology.
Well, until the sequel started, yeah. But anyway, the point is that none of these episodes are going to have anything to do with any other episode. Each one is made by a totally different director. Some of these directors excite me. I'm going to go down the list here. First episode, The Duel, made by Takanobu Mizuno. Now, a lot of people would think of this guy as a no-name. However, Broadcaster Nickels.
However, he did Lupin the Third.
No, much better than that. This man was the lead animation director of Mega Man X Command Mission. I shit you not.
What?
He designed Ale. He is the person that animated Ale, man.
God, these guys need better PR. They're like, what is going on here? This is front page news. What?
Most people are thinking, what the fuck is Mega Man X Command Mission? It is a fucking amazing game that nobody knows about.
Probably one of the only good RPGs on the GameCube.
It is one of the best RPGs on the GameCube for sure. It's top 3 material at the very least. Next episode is Lop and Ocho, made by Yuki Igarashi. A lot of stuff I've never seen before. She does a lot of the newer Pokemons, the ones that I don't watch that are, not as good. The one thing that stood out though, Hellsing Ultimate. She was a lead animation designer on Hellsing Ultimate. I believe that's the OVA series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that art was really good too.
It was
amazing art.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that one too. Next one, not as excited. It's called Tatooine Rhapsody, and as soon as I heard the title, I was like, "This is like a Cowboy Bebop episode." That's what this is going to be, like Cowboy Bebop meets Star Wars, is what I was thinking. Made by Taku Kimura. I didn't recognize a single thing that they've done. It was a bunch of animes I've never heard of or watched. The Twins, this is the one that I am most excited about. This is made by Hiroyuki Imashi, who is the creator of one of my favorite animes of all time, Gurren Lagann.
Yeah,
also,
I noticed the animation immediately.
Yeah, this is the very first part of that trailer. It showed his version. So
one of the characters he drew kind of looked like the kid from Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, Kill la Kill. Evangelion, Full Metal Alchemist. Like, this guy is a legend. And so I'm expecting this episode to be really good. Next one is The Elder, which this person's name is Masahiko Otsuko. And he or she, I'm not even sure what gender this person is. Maybe a they. They're doing The Elder, and they also are like, they're like a shadow of Hiroyuki Imashi. Apparently, like, it's one of his, like, lieutenants. Proteges. So he did Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Evangelion as well. He's done almost all the same stuff that Imashi did. So I'm expecting this episode to be good too, and I kind of thinking that Imashi might be a shadow director of The Elder as well. He might be involved in this because it's his protege, someone that I believe works very close with him. Next one, Village Bride, Hiroshi Haga. This one's a little bit lesser name. They did a Hunter x Hunter movie called Phantom Rogue, and they did that weird Iron Man anime back in like the early 2010s. You remember when they did a bunch of Marvel animes? Yeah, they did the Iron Man one. So that was pretty cool. I like the animation style, but other than that, not a huge fan of this person's work. Next one is Akakiri, made by Young Choi. And I have not heard of a single thing they've done when I looked them up. And then the next one is T0B1, the one that you were referencing, I believe, that doesn't really look like an anime that they did the Yokai Watch movie. Last is The Ninth Jedi, made by Kenji Kamiyama. And this one I'm also really excited about. So what actually got me into anime as a kid wasn't true anime, but it was the shadow animes that came out in the 80s. So I don't know if you know this, but there were a bunch of American kids cartoons that came out in the 80s that were actually made by Japanese anime studios. But then like they'd send the footage to America and the Americans would voice act it and do all the production at the end. One of these is Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters cartoon. The other is the original DuckTales cartoon. Kenji
really?
Kamiyama made the DuckTales cartoon. He did the animation for it. Yes. And like those two kids cartoons I grew up with are literally what indoctrinated me with loving the Japanese anime art style that spiraled out of control as I got older. And so this is like a fucking my anime George Lucas. Like Kenji Kamiyama is like my anime George Lucas. So him doing a Star Wars, it being the final episode of the series, so season finale, he's doing it, and it's called Ninth Jedi.
Oh, Ninth Jedi.
The Ninth Jedi, and that's like a really epic name. It kind of makes it sound like there's going to be some serious shit that goes down in this episode.
It's not canon.
But it's not canon, and Elliot Page is definitely not in the studio.
Elliot Page is definitely canon. Don't worry.
So what are you thinking? Like any of those episodes stand out? Like, you have any thoughts on any of them specifically? I know I just rolled a bunch of shit out at you.
Not really. I mean, there's not a lot to chew on. I mean, like the Gurren Lagann art popped out to me almost immediately. One of the characters, which I'm guessing is like the Elder or something like that. I don't know what episode it was, but he looked like the main samurai from Samurai 7 anime adaptation. He looked just like him, and the art looked just like it too. So that popped out to me. So other than that, I just being an anthology was super unique. The last time I saw anything like that, I think Halo did something like this too. Halo had like a 7 or 8 episode little mini series where they were all just separate stories. All of them had different art styles, Do
you think it's possible we get a second season of this? Like, could it be that they do a second season with like a bunch of different anime directors? Or do you think this is 100% one-off?
The only way it happens is I see them banking off the success of this, because it's definitely going to be a success just based on the energy I'm getting right now. This is what real fans want. They're going to bank off of that and do a super woke volume 2.
Oh God, is that
lure everyone in like a spider trap and
like,
get money off of it the second time.
It's like a collection of like the most woke American directors. Like it starts off with like Kevin Smith right off the bat.
Oh my God, that guy needs to be fucking ran out of Hollywood.
Yeah, then like next up, like Rob Reiner. All right, Broadcaster Nickels. Are you ready to get to our review of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad?
Yes. No. Are you talking about Peacekeeper the movie?
And we're back with our review of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. And the creator of this movie describes it as the following. Supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belle Rev Prison join the super secret, super shady Task Force X as they are dropped off at the remote enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. Broadcaster Nickels, pop quiz. Before this movie, had you ever heard of Corto Maltese in your life?
Yes.
How? When? Where?
Couple couple comics. If that's what you're asking, is this what the question was?
No, is this a real place in the real world, or is it made up for this?
Oh, I don't. Is it? I don't know if it's real.
I've never heard of this country in my life. If this is because like they say it's an island off the coast of Brazil or some shit. Like they're saying it's like a South American island. I've never
Maybe.
heard of that shit ever. So like, I'm wondering, is this even real? I'm thinking it's
I
not.
think there's a food product called Maltese or something like that.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not worldly enough. I like American football, not soccer. So maybe this is one
It's
of those.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely uh a place that shows up multiple times in comics. Like it was in Frank Miller's Dark Knight. It was I think in JLA.
Oh, I do remember it in Dark. Okay, I do remember it now. I forgot about that.
It was also in Justice League America, I think, which I'm pretty dang sure. And it's been a long time, but I remember like there was an old like Justice League comic, or maybe it was a cartoon. I forget. It might have been an old animation, but pretty much Starro, which is kind of like what this movie, the pretty much the base concept of this movie happened in a Justice League comic or animation where the whole Justice League got taken over. And besides Batman, and Batman was like the only person in the world that wasn't enslaved.
You mean by the starfish monster?
Yeah, Starro. And like it was the first comic or whatever that displayed how valuable Batman was and why he was like a member of the Justice League. It was like that moment where everyone was like, "Oh, he just needs prep time," blah blah blah. It's that anecdotal story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think both those stories, the Frank Miller comic and that JLA comic, used that location.
Interesting. Yeah. I might look it up later. I'm really curious now if it's a real place or not, because I swear I never learned about it in like school. Like I don't remember ever hearing about an island of Corto Maltese when I was doing geography and in middle school or whenever the fuck you learn about that shit. I do think that the pivot this movie made into comedy was very smart.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Because the thing that sucked so much about fucking the first Suicide Squad is that movie wanted you to believe it was a Scorsese film. Like they were trying to be all serious and shit with it. Like it's
no one wanted it too. Don't forget that. No one asked for it, and it wasn't funny. So it sucked.
Yeah, and apparently David Ayer, the guy who made it, has like this. He's like, "Oh, that's not my movie. They cut it and they did all this shit to it. It's not the real movie. And if they made
the Ayer cut,
if they let me do the Ayer cut, everyone would understand, And I'm not sure if I buy that because from what I remember that movie, I don't think any cutting would have saved it. But either way, they definitely let James Gunn make his version of a Suicide Squad movie. This had James Gunn written all over it in every scene, just about.
For sure.
So I'm not seeing any studio interference.
Who's your favorite character?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna go with King Shark. I fucking loved King Shark.
He was definitely a crowd favorite.
If you wanna exclude CG characters because he's not like a human.
Well, I mean, he was Stallone. He was a giant shark. There's a lot going on for that character.
Yeah, but like, dude, the character was really well written. He stole the show in every scene he was in, and goddamn, I'm a Sylvester Stallone fan. I've seen every single one of his movies. I love them. I love him, and I could not believe how good of a voice actor he is. Like, apparently, he's an amazing fucking voice actor.
Well, he's just iconic, dude.
Well, you just
a strong voice.
Well, the glass half full way of looking at it is you're gonna see like, oh, Sylvester Stallone, he's just gonna fucking do his normal Sylvester Stallone voice and just be Rocky, basically.
Yeah.
And no, dude, he does like a totally new voice I've never heard him do in this movie for King Shark, and it's amazing. It's really good.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is like modulated though.
That's a good point. They could be doing some real technical magic to make it seem that good. I don't know, but either way, I was shocked at how good his voice acting performance was in this movie. It was a real highlight for me, honestly.
I really liked how they killed off all the characters, pretty much all the characters that were in the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of them just get whacked on that first mission, which like Captain Boomerang just gets whacked. That was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny, but dude, one of the newest characters, Polka Dot Man or whatever his name was. That was fucking hilarious.
When
dude.
like he'd be in the club and all the women would become his mom. Yeah, that was great.
I was dying, dude, because he's like he was just one of those characters you thought he was gonna die at any moment, and he just like at the very end he actually becomes the hero his mom wants him to be.
Yep.
It's just so funny. Oh my god,
I love the casting they did for his mom too. She like just like when you see her, she evokes this weird feeling you have, like almost like the feeling you got from the lunch lady in elementary school. Like you're just like,
yes.
like, don't hurt me, don't poison
creep me out.
Yeah,
Floppy Joes are for lunch, lady. Yeah, get away from me, lady.
Oh man, yeah. All of the comedy parts of this movie were pretty good. Like, I honestly think the worst parts of this movie are the few parts where they try and be serious. Those are the least favorite parts for me. Are the ones
and
where
all those parts, I'm pretty damn sure are setting up that HBO series.
Oh,
all the parts that got unnecessarily like weird and cringy,
mm-hmm.
I feel like are the parts that are for John Cena's new show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like setting up the background characters that are going to show up and all that.
Oh, you mean like the post-credit scene?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, you know. I was like, how do you recover from a throat shot?
Not only that, but didn't he like die in a tower that collapsed that was made of like it?
Well, that's like I've seen tons of superhero shit where people survive that stuff. You know?
I guess.
But like it physically showed the bullet enter his throat. You know, like I don't know, as a human. Okay, it also went through his bullet.
Well, okay, so let's talk about this. I don't know much about Peacemaker as a comic book character. What's his actual superpower? Does he have like Wolverine's super healing ability?
I have no idea.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we're just.
I'm not really into DC comics that much.
Yeah, neither am I. That's the weird thing for me is that I was Marvel all the way my entire life, and I have always been Marvel for everything except movies and TV, and then DC for movies and TV. Like growing up, because like the Batman movies were the shit when I was growing up. The Batman animated TV series was the shit when I was growing up. Like DC owned it back then, and now it's sort of flipping, or it did flip, and now I feel like it's flipping again. Like I think we're in for a really big pendulum shift right now, Broadcaster Nickels.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Don't get me wrong. I know like more than the average person about DC. It's just compared to Marvel. I mean, it's nowhere near. It's just. I mean, if you looking to my left right now, just looking at the few comic books boxes I have left that I've retained in my life, I'd say 4 out of 6 of those are almost all Marvel, probably.
Yeah. So my comic book reading experience is essentially a huge crate of comics that our dad bought me at a garage sale in like 1990 or maybe 91, but it was it was close to the 80s. It was very early in the 90s. And he just gave me this crate of comic books. And that's it. That's all the comics I ever had. I never bought any more. I never got any more. But it was actually 2 crates of comics. There was a shit ton in there. Like there was probably like 300 comic books in these 2 crates. Like it was fucking packed. But it was like 95% Marvel. Like almost all Marvel, very few DC. So that's why all of my knowledge from back in those days is almost all Marvel, because that's the only comic books I ever had. All my knowledge of DC, not all of it, but most of it, comes from the movies.
Yeah.
With a few exceptions. I did go out, like when I got into Batman, I did go out and buy some Batman comics. So like The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
I have DK 1, 2, and 3. Frank Miller's Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight's another one. Like like Batman is one where I have read a lot of comics for Batman, but not a whole lot else. Like with Marvel, man, I had some really weird out there comics for Marvel that to this day have never been produced, and I keep kind of waiting for like when they get really desperate to like bust some of this really weird.
Well, they're
shit.
making a Moon Knight show.
Well, that's Moon Knight's the first stepping stone to some of the shit I'm talking about, man. There's some really out there shit for Marvel.
We're already gonna see a Dazzler. Just wait, dude. We're gonna see a pole dancing Dazzler, transgender, in Moon Knight. It's gonna be It's gonna be the post credit scene on the final episode. Just wait.
Yeah, they would do that in the post credits.
We're setting up A-Force. It's gonna be Brie Larson, like half naked, just with pasties on her nipples, and she's like, I wish. But
yeah, you notice all those. You notice all those rumors, like you know how like 6 months ago, like everyone was talking like, oh, Brie Larson's gonna be in a Star Wars movie. You notice all those rumors just fucking died, and you haven't heard that shit in a long fucking time.
Well, I think like all those things are just feelers, and they were just testing the waters to see if anyone liked Brie Larson. And what the data they got back was, the results are in. You are not the mother. Sorry, goodbye.
It's funny too because like I remember when I first was introduced to Katherine Heigl, I was like, man, this is the most unlikable hot blonde chick I've ever seen in my life. There's no way anyone could ever top her. And then good old Captain Marvel shows up to take the crown.
Who is that girl you just said?
Katherine Heigl. She was huge in the late 90s and early 2000s. She was in Grey's Anatomy. That's not what I watched her in. She was in a whole bunch of movies. She was in like a movie with Matthew McConaughey. Like she had this period of time where she was just in like shit tons of stuff. And she just came off as like a cunt. Like she just like you could feel it in every single thing she was in. She just kind of came off as a cunt. And it's the exact same energy Brie Larson has. Like literally, like she sucked the energy out of her.
I'd tame Brie Larson. No doubt. We had a party and she was being super cunty. I'd be like, it's all right, guys, I handle this.
You mentioned the opening. I thought the opening was the best part of this movie. What do you think? Like all the way up to the end where they declare the opening the distraction. It's like there's kind of a misdirect at the beginning of this movie, and at a certain point you get introduced to the real Suicide Squad. That's the second team that is the characters that exist through like 80% of the movie. And they're like, oh no, don't worry about those explosions over there. That was the distraction. So like everything involving the very beginning of the movie up to that moment, I believe is the best part of the movie. What do you think?
I mean, it was really well done. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I would agree in the regard as far as like it being like the veil being released moment at the end, but best part, I don't know, anything with John Cena, and it was pretty much the best part of the movie. Him betraying and pretty much hunting down the squad was probably the best part of the movie for me. I didn't really see it coming, but I did see it coming at the same time.
Yeah, he's the new Opie. Fucking John Cena, man. I don't know though, like I just feel like that intro part was amazing on multiple levels. First of all, we start with Michael Rooker, a man that I fucking adore. He's like a fucking Michael Ironside to me. Like he's that type of actor. Like he's like the side character actor that always just plays these amazing characters in everything I see him in. And the movie starts out with him. Michael Rooker.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know all the names of these, like, especially the ones at the beginning that all get offed. But Michael Rooker played one of them. He looked like a wraith from Stargate Atlantis. He had like long white hair.
Yeah, it was Savant. He played Savant.
Yeah, I don't know who Savant is, but I love Michael Rooker. And like when this movie starts, like it has this totally different vibe, and you think that you're watching a different movie for like the first 20 minutes of this movie. Like you're watching this thing, and they assemble the Suicide Squad led by Michael Rooker with his like group of shittier versions of the Suicide Squad. They fucking just get dropped off like trash on the beach. Like they don't even like land for them. They're just like jump in the water, get soaking wet. We don't give a fuck about you. Like it's really interesting. And they just get fucking betrayed by little bitch ass SNL kid Pete Davidson. When we first saw he was in this movie, I was worried. I was like, Pete Davidson is a piece of trash. He's a horrible actor. He's unlikable. He's stupid. He has the most punchable face in the world.
Fuck Kate Beckinsale. Go on.
I mean, yeah, like he's a motherfucker on all levels, and I was like, I don't want him in this movie. I don't want to see him ever. He's not funny. And funny enough, he wasn't funny the entire movie, right? Like every scene he was in till the moment he died, he was cringy. Like, remember the part in the plane when they're talking about the fucking weasel guy? There's like a weasel monster guy. Yeah.
He's actually voiced by
Pete Davidson's like, oh, is it a dog? Oh, is it a dog? And fucking Nathan Fillion's like, nah, bro, that's like some sort of whatever. I'm about to die, and this is a cameo, so this is the end of my line. And Pete Davidson's like, oh no, and he like starts like cringing and like trying to like back his back up to the plane walls, like scared, like Michael Myers is in front of him with a fucking giant butcher knife. And this is one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in a superhero movie. This little Pete Davidson scene where he's like pretending to be afraid of the little weasel guy. But it all pays off. Pete Davidson is the first motherfucker to die in this movie. And he gets his fucking face shot off in a way that is just like, when you see it, you're just like, James Gunn, you had my back this whole time. I'm sorry I doubted you. Like, I'm sorry like, first of all, he's the betrayer, right? So like he betrays the first team and gets them all killed. So he's a little punk bitch. He was cast as a little punk bitch. So it's perfect casting, right? That's who you want to cast. You want to cast Pete Davidson as this character. And then instead of like, oh yeah, I'm going to go off and, fuck some Spanish girl on this island for the rest of my life. Fuck you guys later. Those fuckers just shoot his face off in one of the more gory scenes in this entire movie. And that's another reason why I love this beginning, because it is so gory, dude. This reminded me of a horror movie on the level of gore we saw in this scene. This military encounter with the first decoy group, if you will. I've seen horror movies way less gory than this. And this is a fucking comic book movie, man.
James Gunn don't fuck around, bro.
No, he doesn't.
Give that guy a license to do what he wants, he'll do it.
And I think it really shows that DC has some serious balls right now. Like, they're like, yeah, sure, we're going to have Shazam, which is a great, serviceable comic book movie that, maybe more bent for kids, kid appropriate, blah, 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 whatever, but it's still good. But we're also going to have the Suicide Squad that is like, we literally see fucking King Shark just eat people alive multiple times in very graphic fashion.
He ate a whole doodle.
Dude, I'm just like, it's crazy that DC is allowing such a dichotomy in their movie space right now. They're like, we're only this. We're like, we're going to have G-rated and we're going to have hard Rs. And this was a hard R for me. Like, this literally
it's was also Warner Bros. Too.
Right.
They're used to making a huge range of movies like that.
Right, but like if you watched Aquaman or if you watched fucking Shazam, you would think, oh, DC is kind of pivoting into more kid-friendly, family-friendly comic book movies.
What are you talking about? You didn't see the bareback with Amber Heard in Aquaman? Bareback scene? Extra credits?
I think you have to pay extra for that, Broadcaster Nickels. I don't think
Maybe I have a premium account. I'm not quite sure.
I didn't get the OnlyFans version of Aquaman. But now I'm curious. So I might check it out. What do you think about Harley Quinn in this movie? Because as hot as Margot Robbie is, and how much I would like to bang her if possible.
If possible.
Her role in this movie felt packed on as fuck. It felt like she wasn't a part of the original script, and they came in and they're like, well, we got Margot Robbie. Can you just like add some scenes for her? That's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, now that you say that, it really stands out. I heard, and this was a shock to me because and like someone had to like point it out, but I saw this clickbait headline that said something like Margot Robbie didn't realized she was killed off in Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League or whatever, and I was like, what? I clicked on it, and supposedly like the end credits scene that's in the Nightmare World, they talk about how Harley got killed off or something like that.
Yeah.
And so maybe like the future plans going forward with the whole universe, like she's not going to be used that much. So maybe they're slowly winding down on like a contractual obligation with her or something.
Interesting. That sounds right. Honestly, when you say that, now that my brain's kind of turning on it a little bit, I almost 100% believe you with no proof. So
With no proof. Best type of belief I like.
But yeah, I really liked Michael Rooker in this. I liked how hard and badass he was, and when he saw what was happening in front of him, he got like the most scared little kid look on his face and just started swimming out to the ocean, running away. Like, I just love that, because everything I've ever seen Michael Rooker in, he's just this hard ass motherfucker that would never do that. So seeing him do that was really funny.
Walking Dead.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Nathan Fillion with his weird power of dismembering himself was like creepy and weird, and I'm just like,
that was very weird.
But I'll tell you right now, when I was watching this, I knew nothing about this movie. I had no spoilers, so I didn't know anything that was about to happen. When I saw Nathan Fillion in the plane with them, I was like, these guys are all gonna die. I said it to myself in my head, and I was fucking right. Because I'm just looking at Nathan Fillion, I'm like, no, there's no way. You're a cameo. I know you're a cameo. There's no fucking way you're in this entire movie, so everyone in this plane's about to die.
Yeah, supposedly he plays like some really like prestigious character or something like that. TKB or what, TKA or whatever his name is.
That was like another weird part of the movie where they have that scene. It's the same scene that I talked about with fucking Pete Davidson, where they ask him what his name stands for, and he's just like, it stands for me. And then there's like, your name, letters stand for you. Like, that whole scene was really weird and kind of dumb and pointless, and I didn't really understand why they even had it.
It's a comic book thing. No one knows what the acronym stands for. Everyone's just always guessed.
Yeah, but it's like, why? Like, they didn't ask the obvious question, like, it's not an acronym? Like, that's what, like, I'm like, it's in here like, okay, he's being cute about it. Just be like, is it an acronym or not? That's what you need to ask, but no one would ask it, and it kind of bothered me. And now that you say it's a comic book call out, it makes more sense, because I'm just like sitting here like, this would have been the first scene I cut out of the movie. If you hand me this regular cut of this movie I just watched, scene 1 I cut out is this airplane scene with them like bullshitting with each other. I thought it was pointless, but it's weird though, because it really developed the characters in a way that you think they're going to be more permanent, even though I knew they weren't going to be. But like the way that they do it, it's almost like a misdirect. Like the whole thing is like a misdirect within a misdirect.
James Gunn, dude.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of James Gunn as a person, but the man makes quality entertainment. I have to give it to him. Like, his
Why
fucked
don't
up
you like him? Was it the kid joke?
I mean, not really. It's more just like, he's kind of a douche. I don't know. When you like listen to him in interviews, and when you like read the shit he says, you're just kind of like, he's kind of a douche. You know, I don't like him. It's not like Mel Brooks. I fucking love Mel Brooks. I wish Mel Brooks was my grandpa. You know what I mean? Like, the man is a saint, and I love everything he's ever done. And I love all of his movies.
He can be racist as fuck around me anytime.
James Gunn is more like, I love all of his movies, but if he was related to me, I might have extra firepower under my bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he also just has the look. Too.
He does have the look. He does.
I feel bad for people, because sometimes, they probably aren't diddlers, but there's a look. There definitely is a look.
Probably not a diddler.
And God willing, they're fighting that battle the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Anyways, Suicide Squad, great movie. James Gunn, not a diddler, but looks like
he might not be a diddler, but he is a dark motherfucker, and I think this movie kind of really cements him as being a dark motherfucker. And I think there's no part of the movie that better illustrates that than the village massacre, which I didn't see coming at all. Like, so like they get to this village that they think are terrorists that took what's his name captive. Oh God. The guy who survived, Captain Flag or Red. What the fuck's
Rick
that guy's
Flag.
name? Joel Kinnaman. What's his character's name?
Rick Flag.
Rick Flag. There we go. So like Rick Flag is captured from the decoy team, and they think it's the enemy that has him. So they do this really cool like murder montage of this village where fucking Idris Elba and fucking John Cena are like competing like Sasuke and Naruto.
Yeah.
And like they get to the very end and like, oh, there he is, the guy we came to the rescue, and they're like, oh no, these are our allies. Where's my daughter? She was outside gathering chickpeas. And John Cena and Idris Elba just look at each other and they're just like, well, that was one of the darkest scenes I've seen in a long time, man. And I have to give it James Gunn credit. Like, that is some shit that's like Stephen King shit, where you look at it and you're like, I like this, but the person that came up with this, I would not want around me unless I had a weapon nearby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things too where it's not. I don't think I've even ever seen anything like that in a comic book.
It was dark as fuck. Yeah,
It's pretty dark. It's pretty dark for even comic book standards.
Yeah. So there are a few things going for this movie that really gives it like an extra push for me, and that was one of them. As fucked up as it is, it's just like, we have all these homogenized movies nowadays and like all this shit where you're just like, you see everything coming, everything's formulaic, and then you have something like this happen, you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah.
Can't help but appreciate it because it's refreshing.
Yeah.
James Gunn's trying to tell us something, people. All right? That the tree of liberty has to be refreshed with the blood of fire. I'm kidding. No. What he is saying, though, is that killing people's fun in video games, and it turns out in movies, too. We just seem to have forgotten it. And James Gunn's trying to bring it back, okay? He's just trying to bring it back.
That he is. Some really fucking horrific death scenes in this movie. This is not a kid's movie at all. This is a type of movie that if it came out in the 90s, they would have tried to rate it NC-17.
No doubt.
Like, but now it's just an R-rated movie. But like when you watch it, you're like, well, yeah, but I'm old enough to remember this wouldn't have even been an R in my day. Like some of the shit I've seen in here, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, this is one of the first legitimate movies where I'm probably just like, if I had kids, I probably wouldn't if I had like kids like 8 years old or whatever, that normally I'd let them watch something like, like I'd watch them watch The Hangover or something like that. Well,
That's wholesome family entertainment.
Yeah, after watching Suicide Squad, I'm like, maybe when you're a little bit older.
Yeah. What'd you think about Idris Elba's Bruce Willis impersonation in this movie?
That was pretty funny. I thought that was rock solid, to be honest. You could tell he put a lot of hours into that.
Yes.
A lot of hours.
It was on.
And honestly, after seeing that, I wouldn't mind a race swap Die Hard. If they rebooted the series with Idris Elba,
I'm down.
Behind it, dude. I'd be so behind it.
Oh man.
These are the type of ideas that America needs right now. Okay.
Yeah, I think Idris Elba is just like so rich now. Like, have you ever looked at his IMDb?
No.
He has been in so much shit in the last 10 years. It is unbelievable how much work he's done. That guy's just got to be loaded with cash right now. So I feel like he's almost like on his like retirement tour right now. I feel like he's going to start Like we're gonna see a movie like Mandy pretty soon that has Idris Elba in it. I feel like that's where we're headed.
That sounds pretty dope too. Sign me up for that.
Yeah. So now I have to say, I'm going to make a little declaration here. I think DC movies have now been consistently better than Marvel movies for several years now. What do you say to that?
Marvel movies?
DC movies compared to Marvel movies. I think for about 3 years, give or take a little bit, DC movies have been superior to Marvel movies by and large.
Yeah, I'd say. I think ever since Joker came out.
I think it started before Joker, but I think Joker kind of like was the right hook for Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then when Snyder Cut came out, it kind of started to become a picture, you know, like a picture started taking form. I was like, oh, okay, these guys, there's definitely people over there that know what the fuck they're doing.
For sure. I think that we're now entering an era of DC dominance again. And that might be a controversial take because a lot of people are predicting that this new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson is going to be a flop. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know if this is like Marvel paying media companies to post this shit because some of it feels a little like, do you got something personal against DC, like with the way you're talking? But that's the popular opinion right now, is that DC's actually on the downcline, not the up. I don't believe that based on what I've seen.
I don't know. It could always look that way in like a microcosm because, you know, like with that project alone with the Robert Pattinson Batman, that could be going poorly. But say that does go successfully and all these ideas go successfully, dude, DC has really good potential to set up something way cooler than Endgame could ever dream of with Thanos, dude. They have the rights to things like Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen and, you know, like a Dark Side and the Dark Justice League and all kinds of stuff like that. Like there's really, really cool stories that they could embrace. And on top of that, they could combine it all and make their own unique thing. Like I could easily see them fixing like this convoluted like standalone movie complex that they're kind of dealing with right now by introducing Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like it would be super cool of them to do it too, because it happened in the comics recently and it was probably the last cool thing DC Comics had going for itself. The story itself kind of became somewhat of a letdown, but nonetheless, the announcement that it became canon that Dr. Manhattan essentially was like some force in the multiverse in DC Comics. He wasn't just like the Watchmen, just wasn't its own standalone story that DC Warner got a hold of later on. They actually integrated it into the comics and made it make sense. And, you know, to anybody that doesn't read comics, essentially Dr. Manhattan at the very end of the Watchmen, when Dr. Manhattan's like looking up into the sky and he does his little monologue or whatever, and he disappears. He's talking about, I'll go create my own universes or whatever. One of those universes was the DC universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like it'd be cool. Like they could get to that type of thing eventually, and they could fix all this. Like they have the potential. Even like as I said, like the Robert Pattinson movie could be a success, and it could give them even more of a conundrum. You know, we're like, well, where do we go from here? But they could still do it.
Well, here's the thing about the Robert Pattinson Batman that's really striking a chord with me as I read all these media reports about how dire it is, how everyone doesn't get along, and how everything's going so poorly. I heard those same types of stories coming out right before The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger. I don't know if you were too young to remember this or not, or if you were like not into it back then. Like The Dark Knight came out in like what, 2006, 2007? When did that come out? It was a long fucking time ago. You were like probably 15 when that came out, right?
Yeah, so 2005 or 6, yeah.
Something like that. I was someone who actually like consumed the media, like the M5M media, like the mainstream media, way more than I do now. Like back then, that was probably the prime for me when I consumed that type of media. And I remember all these stories coming out about how The Dark Knight had a troubled production and how like Heath Ledger was like people thought that he was off his rocker and that he was doing drugs and shit, which apparently he was doing that. But like that everything was going really bad, right? Like it was just like the movie's a mess and all this shit and blah blah blah. Then it came out and it's literally the great, like maybe not the greatest Batman movie of all time, but it's in the discussion for best Batman movie. The Dark Knight is one of the most amazing movies I've ever seen in my life. It is one of Christopher Nolan's best movies, and I love all of Christopher Nolan's movies. And I can still say that The Dark Knight's one of his best movies. Like, it is an amazing movie. So it gives me a little bit of pause when I look at this new Batman, because I'm seeing the same types of stories coming out where they're talking about, oh, he's doing drugs and people, they're having sex on set and the director doesn't like him and they're having fights and shit. And I'm just like, man, this sounds very familiar. So I don't know. I don't really think the Robert Pattinson Batman is actually as bad of a state as it is. I think this might be sort of the same story where we might, Robert Pattinson's going to die of an overdose a week after this movie comes out. That's what I'm saying, really.
I think it's pretty wild that right now they're actually filming 2 separate movies with 2 separate Batmans.
I know. And I'm way more, I'll be real honest right now. I'm way more excited for the Flash movie than I am the Batman movie, which feels weird. But man, I told you, Poe Dameron is not my Apocalypse. Well, guess what? Michael Keaton is my fucking Batman. So,
no doubt.
I am so psyched for this Flash movie only because Michael Keaton is in it.
It's gonna be crazy seeing him put on the cowl.
I know. I just hope he's not I hope he's not only in it for like 6 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, I really hope they give him like a good solid 15 minutes at least, right? Like,
that'd be so fucking lame.
I know, but you never know with these things. But so what do you think then? The post-credit scene is definitely just them setting up John Cena's TV show. Is that what that is?
No doubt, dude. No doubt. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a TV show. And then it's like HBO Max television show. Like, okay, I get it now. There was even like a video that popped up where someone was like breaking down all the moments of like the of the movie that are going to be related to the new series. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a thing. It could be good.
It could be. I don't know.
I think if Idris Elba shows up to renew the rivalry between them, he's like, "Sup, bitch, a shot in the throat." Like, that will be cool. That will make the series great. But I doubt Idris is showing up.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I just watched. I know it's your personal favorite movie of 2021, Fast 9. And John Cena was in that as well.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. No joke. He plays Torero's brother. He plays Vin Diesel's fucking brother. And they came up with this crazy backstory to explain it. And they actually cast like younger versions of both the characters and their dad. Like in like a quarter of the movie is like this like Talladega Nights backstory for them to explain why John Cena was never in the entire 8 movies that came before it, but all of a sudden now he's Torero's brother. And
what the fuck?
I'm gonna say right now that John Cena has a couple okay moments in Fast 9, but for the most part, his acting was shit in that movie. And I think that might cloud me a little bit on the Suicide Squad, because when I'm watching this movie, I just watched Fast 9, so I'm like looking at him just like I looked at him in Fast 9. I'm just like, I don't like you. You suck. Even though he was saying funny shit a lot. Like, he had some really good comedic scenes in this movie. Most of them were Peacemaker. He was fucking hilarious in this movie. And he was way better actor in this movie than he was in Fast 9, which makes me wonder, like, is he trying
He's just
harder
really good. He's
because
really
he
good
knows
at
he has this
comedy.
TV deal going on?
Well, John
yeah.
Cena is also really good at comedy.
I mean, that's true, I guess. I don't
That's
know.
his environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
F9, I imagine, like, it was pretty tight butthole on that set with Vin Diesel.
He was, man. It was weird. It's hard to explain his performance in Fast 9, but it was like he was trying to be a James Bond villain, but he's too much of a fucking goofball to do it, so he just came off as this
Vin Diesel,
weirdo.
like, write and direct and star in those movies? It has to be probably ego central, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The credits for a Fast and Furious movie look a lot like the credits for a Dark Eternal video game. It's one name like 18 times in a row. Written by Vin Diesel, directed by Vin Diesel, casting director Vin Diesel,
Executive producer, Vin Diesel.
key grip Vin Diesel. Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, here in the Crack Cellar, we have an astonishingly well-crafted segment that is basically drooled over by all, called the Hit, the Miss, and the Whiff. You know, Tim Dillon has sent me several emails asking if he can franchise out the segment, but I've said no. This is a Crack Cellar exclusive. And on that exclusive system, Broadcaster Nickels, what would you say the hit of this movie is?
The hit? I think it's Polka Dot, man, to be honest. I thought him saying Starro as his mom. It's just like over the top, dude. Like,
That was great.
I literally was crying and laughing because I was like, every time he was on the screen, I was like, this guy is too consistently funny. Like, it was so well crafted. But I don't know. That might it was just the best comedic part of the film for me, at least. But I think who really deserves it is probably John Cena. John Cena definitely deserves it. I think him and Idris Elba's like rivalry, most of his scenes and his acting, like you said earlier, the scene where they just whacked the whole village. His entrance in the jungle is fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah,
he did a really good job.
He did. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, my hit is motherfucking King Shark.
Yeah.
King Shark was fucking awesome. Every single line he uttered was like, it's like when, JFK, you know, John F. Kennedy. When you see a John F. Kennedy speech, like when he's like warning about the globalists or whatever, like you see these speeches from JFK and you like kind of get goosebumps every time you hear him utter a word. Like he just has this weird aura. That's what I get from King Shark. Every time King Shark said something, I'm just like getting electrified. You know what I mean? Like Gold Dust from the WWF. Remember Gold Dust?
How could you forget?
Dusty Rhodes Kid. He just shows up in the WWF. He's like, my shtick is I'm going to be gay and I'm going to threaten guys with gay sex to get them to forfeit. You can forget Gold Dust.
Fun fact, a lot of people don't know, that's actually Marshall Mathers' father.
Anyway, I just thought King Shark, he stole the show in when I think of like what a hit is in my head, I think of like, what is the thing that every time it appeared, it stole the show? Like what was the dominant force of this movie? And for me, it was King Shark. Every time he was in a scene doing anything, he was the focus for me. And like that scene early on where Idris Elba wakes up and does his Bruce Willis impression and sees fucking King Shark about to eat the rat girl, and like that whole scene is just like fucking amazing. Like King Shark's like literally eating her like a Subway fucking sandwich, and fucking Idris Elba gets up and like does some like Jean-Claude Van Damme kick moves on his ass, and then like the fucking rat girl's like, he'd never eat me. he's my friend, right? And he's like, King Shark, I'm no friend. I'm just like, it reminds me of the greatest moments of several movies. You know, fucking Tropic Thunder comes to mind. Like, I'm just like sitting here just laughing my ass off at this, and she's just like, well, what if I was your friend? And King Shark's just like, yeah, I want you to be my friend. It's just like, this whole scene was just amazing. And then like, he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to eat my friends, but I'm going to eat everyone else. It's like the rest of the movie is King Shark just eating random people in like the most graphic fashion possible. Every scene he's in, he's basically eating someone from there on out.
Well, it was a coming of age tale for King Shark.
It really was. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, there are hits and there are misses. Which one is more important? That's for the gods to decide. What is your miss?
A miss. What is the miss? Probably having Pete Davidson in the movie at all. No, I'm just kidding.
That would have been my... No, actually, that would have been my whiff if it weren't for the way they killed him.
Yeah. I think the miss probably was Harley Quinn. I think, like, when you said that she felt tacked on, it like actually kind of made me realize that she was like the worst part of the movie. And it's kind of funny because she was like one of the only good parts of the first one.
Yeah. It reminded me of Chris D'Elia being replaced in that fucking Army of the Dead movie. Like, when
she just got tacked on.
Yeah, it's almost like they made the movie and they're like, well, wait a second, we need to get fucking the hot blonde chick in here. Let's just like film these scenes with El Presidente and fucking just like CG her into these other scenes. Like, it felt weird, man. It really did.
Yeah. I think that just overall, like, it didn't bring anything to the film. She didn't have like any pivotal roles in the film. There was no real big funny parts for her. She's hot. I think she's great.
She is kind of like the Marilyn Monroe of this generation. It's weird, but she kind of is.
She is. Remember how Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Remember how she was just there and not like really like had like a real role?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
it was great. If we could just get a full frontal scene.
I know, like, that's the thing I know, like, my toxic masculinity is going to come out for a few seconds here, so forgive me, but...
Can we bring back nudity in AAA movies?
Like,
yeah, let's
one
bring
of
it
the
back.
things I loved about horror movies when I was growing up as a kid was the fact that there were always titties in them, man.
Yeah,
and it's like,
dude.
now it's like horror movies... Not only do they not have like good horror, but some of them just don't have titties either. And it's just like, man, what is this? What has happened? Like,
could you imagine a 4K and it's just watching like that arterial blood splatter, cheesy arterial blood splatter hit like a chick's tits, like in 4K? That's
I can't imagine it. I want to see it, but right now I'm forced to imagine it. That's my point, Broadcaster Nickels. We've really lost our way when it comes to titties and movies.
We have. Well, we just lost our way, period.
That being said,
There's all a bunch of pussies.
Broadcaster Nickels, my miss is going to be the ending of the movie.
What? You didn't like the Art of the Rat?
No, dude. Like, so, like, this movie kind of ended like a Power Rangers movie a little bit. Like, it felt like... I felt like fucking Saban himself was directing this final scene. Like, so Rat Girl, I don't know who she is. I don't know if she's an important character, whatever. I didn't like her. She was kind of a forgettable character. Her whole shtick was like, oh, I'm tired. She was, she was like the Prince Vespian from Spaceballs. That's what she was in this movie. And so she's like a D character at most for me watching this movie. And then for her to be the hero of the movie that takes down the final boss single-handedly the way that she does, and then she gets like this really like heartfelt CG back cut scene with her standing on Big Ben with her dad in like the 70s or 80s or whatever the hell. It was just weird to me, man. I'm just like, bro, if you're going to have Rat Girl be the hero and do all this shit you're showing me right now, you need to support this shit in the beginning of the movie, because there was nothing to like really. There was no foundation to this ending. No foundation at all. It's just like the leader of the rats spreading her disease.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that was like the point, is that everyone were terrible people and they all lost. And Rat Girl got the happy ending. It's very James Gunn. The Rat Girl gets the happy ending.
Maybe it is, man. But for me, I just needed... I don't know, man. I would have had it much more fun if, like, Rita Repulsa showed up on the moon and said, King Shark, use my power, and sent her lightning bolt down to the planet and made King Shark turn into a Megazord, and then King Shark did, like, a Power Rangers battle with Starro and, like, bit his face off. That would have been a much better ending to me than the leader of the rats just sending a fucking legion of CG rats onto the starfish monster and eating him alive or whatever. It's just like, okay, I guess. This type of movie, you don't really care that much about the ending. It's a comedy movie. And that's why I started this review by saying it was very smart for them to pivot into comedy. And this is kind of my point. If this wasn't a comedy movie, this ending would have had huge weight on my review of the movie. But because it's a comedy movie, the ending is kind of doesn't matter. Like, who gives a fuck about the ending? Like, let's just look at a classic comedy like Anchorman with Will Ferrell. Who gives a fuck about the ending of Anchorman? Nobody. Doesn't fucking matter. And that's kind of what James Gunn benefits from here. It's just kind of a dumb, shitty ending. It doesn't matter, though, because it's a comedy movie. And the laughs you get in this movie are real.
No doubt. No doubt.
That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, there's always a whiff. What's yours?
Oh, man. This one, I know why they didn't do it, but in the beginning, and I really appreciated them doing this, giving Bloodsport the only claim to fame he's ever have, putting a kryptonite bullet in Superman.
Yeah.
They did that. I really wish they would have illustrated that. Just Henry Cavill comes out of nowhere and just takes a kryptonite bullet in the shoulder.
That would have been really cool.
Just like, I really thought that would have been a really great moment to like just show the audience that Henry Cavill's still Superman, because supposedly like there's a big question mark back there, and the fact that they just went out of their way to be like, oh, he put a bullet in Superman, it's like, that's it. Like, they need a scene to recap that, like, I thought that would have been really cool. But
I agree with you, that would have been
it was just kind of like there was a few scenes, to be honest, like that in the movie, but it was still a great movie nonetheless. Like, and I don't think it lessened the movie at all. It's just the fact that they brought it up and they didn't. Just the caliber of talent they brought to that movie just kind of was like, you could have got Henry Cavill to put the Superman suit on and take a kryptonite bullet. That would have been funny.
Yeah. From what I know about Henry Cavill, he's kind of just like a gamer.
He's a huge nerd.
Yeah, like he's in for all this shit. So I agree with you. I think they could have got Henry Cavill. They probably just didn't want to pay him anything. And they were just afraid to ask him to take like no money to do it. So they just didn't bother asking him. That's my guess.
It would have had to been a more thought out thing. Like, it probably would have been a deal for another of a contract for other movies. You know, you got to appear in Suicide Squad.
Yeah. And I really, really hope that DC smartens up and asks Henry Cavill to come back as Superman. Because I don't know if he followed this much, But there's a huge back and forth right now with him as Superman. Like, one week they'll be like, he'll never be back as Superman. It's over. Then the next week, like, oh, Henry Cavill's in talks to maybe reprise his role as Superman. And then the next week's like, nope, never, ever.
Michael B. Jordan making a black Superman movie.
Yes. And then you get your Michael B. Jordan thing. I really hope they smarten up and bring him back, because he is, other than Christopher Reeves, he is the greatest Superman. Now, there haven't been too many. Dean Cain, Dean Cain, not a great.
I give our boy Cain some respect.
There hasn't been too many Supermans, but I really believe that Henry Cavill was a great one. And I think it's dumb to sort of forsake him when he's in his prime. Like, Henry Cavill isn't going anywhere. Like, he could do Superman movies for the next 20 years. The guy is a Greek god.
Let's not forget that Man of Steel is like the backbone on which all these movies are being supported.
Yeah.
Like, for like the faith and enthusiasm. It's like all of it's based on Man of Steel. You guys made that movie, everyone was super high for it, gave you the chance for all these other movies, and you're slowly been dwindling it away until Suicide Squad and Joker.
Yeah. Well, Broadcaster Nickels, my whiff is, I want to just say Harley Quinn in general, but I'm going to be very specific with this. It is the Harley Quinn and El Presidente honeymoon montage. Now, this is the part of the movie where there's no words happening, there's no lines. It's playing really cheesy rom-com music with Harley Quinn and El Presidente like doing various activities and having a great time and just like loving each other like a CW show. Bringing it back to CW. This whole part of the movie, I was looking at it, I'm just like shaking my head like, what the fuck? This does not match anything in this movie previous, and as I later found out, in the future. Like, it literally did not belong in the movie. This is where my theory comes from with her being tacked on. Like, this whole scene with El Presidente, it felt like it was done way after the rest of the movie was made, and they just like threw it in.
Yeah.
And
it was probably just a standalone little story they just pinned right onto the movie.
Yeah, it's like the way she kills El Presidente at the end of the honeymoon montage, it's like kind of funny because it's like, yeah, that's Harley Quinn. 1 second you think you're going to fuck her and the next you have a bolt in your brain. I mean, that's her character, and it's great that they kind of stick to that, but it's like at the same time, her whole thing, like where she just puts her hands up and just stands there and lets her arrest him, and then she's like, then she like does her little fucking La Femme Nikita leg strangulation on her captors to escape. And then it shows like all like the bullet time, like flower blossom CG shit as she's escaping. No, it did not belong in the movie. It felt super out of place compared to the rest of the movie. I think there is an executive producer that might have throat cancer from eating some pussy. That's all I'm saying.
Black Michael Douglas.
Black Michael Douglas.
Hotep Michael Douglas. If you guys don't know, come down. It's a great fucking podcast. Go for it. Change your life.
Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, because you invented it, here on the Crack Cellar Podcast, we use an official, patented Nick Cage rating system to judge all of our reviews. On that system, what do you rate The Suicide Squad?
Oh, dude, this movie gets a face off, no doubt. This is a solid movie, dude. They got Sylvester Stallone being a fucking giant CGI shark with some profound emotional moments. You got John Cena with a big ass gun killing Asian people. You got Idris Elba. Well, I mean, Idris Elba's just there being Idris Elba, you know?
You got Idris Elba. Dramatic pause. Well,
he's probably like the lowest bar in this movie, to be honest. But he still did great.
Yeah.
But my favorite is just the handling of the comedy. Like James Gunn's a mastermind with this shit. His handling of Polka Dot Man and killing off like Captain Boomerang and shit like that.
Yes.
They're just like these moments where you're just like, you really understand, like, it doesn't matter what you're given. You understand comedy. You know how to kill your idols. You know how to take them down. You understand the concept of it.
Yeah.
And I just thought the whole movie, edge to edge, was almost perfect. Like, there's a couple things, like Margot Robbie being tacked on with like Harley and stuff like that. And, like I said earlier, like there could be some more like scenes that were elaborated on instead of just being glanced over. But overall, I mean, this gets close to as perfect really gets for a comedy. Like, I don't think you really can ask for much more nowadays.
It was a breath of fresh air, for sure. I've said this already, but I just want to really emphasize how happy I am that they embraced the comedy in this movie.
It's funny you say that, dude, because I bet Ire doesn't like hearing that because he definitely tried to be a comedy in some parts.
Yeah. Well, Broadcaster Nickels.
Ire.
I am going to give this a Con Air. It's a good movie.
Respectable.
It's a good movie. It is probably the hardest I've laughed at a movie in a while. It is a good comedy movie.
It has too much Cusack. I hear you.
I mean, when I look at a fucking when I look at a Face Off, I look at it like perfection, right? Like, there's just nothing bad about the movie. Like, you go scene to scene all the way through. It's just like, there's nothing bad here. And with this, there are a few scenes that were really bad. Not too many. To the movie's credit, they were very limited. But what was there, and it's just kind of like, okay. Like, and one thing we didn't really touch on as we talked about this movie is the quote unquote villain of the movie before you know who the villain is in the movie. So, like, the villain of the movie is Starro. But before that, you kind of think the villain of the movie is this guy called Thinker, who's like this weird alien brain guy with spikes in his head.
Yeah. I think he's also part of the original storyline for Starro as well.
That guy goes nowhere. Every scene he's in is weird. Like, he has this weird vibe around him. Like, the scene where they apprehend him and, like, Jack Flag or whatever, Rick Flag fucking gets him in the bar or whatever. It's just kind of like, these were, like, the worst parts of the movie. And then, like, you get to the end and really his main use in this movie was a key code. That's, like, what it really boils down to, is they used him for a key code to get into the facility. But then when you get into the facility, they're like, well, he also raped the starfish alien multiple times. And you're just kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know if that's funny or not. I'm not sure what we're going for here. This is also one of those moments where you look at James Gunn, you're like, yeah, you're not babysitting my kids. Ever. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
No way.
Just like this dude, he's just like, yeah, what? And then, like, when he tries to defend himself, he just like a creepy uncle, like, well, the starfish was asking for it. And you're just like, what the fuck was the point of Thinker in this movie? You just look at it, you're just like, he was nothing.
He probably had more scenes, but they're probably like, you're too creepy. Cut him out.
Maybe.
James Gunn was like, you're too creepy, bro.
That might be it, because it really feels like he has an unearned role in this movie. And that's one of the few things in this movie I really had a problem with. It's just like, you should have been a better character.
You should have been a better character. That shit belongs on a t-shirt.
And with that, we'll close out.
God said I should have been a better character. And I told him I told him he should have been a better father.
Never understood me, God.